Welcome back. Today we're diving into something truly alarming, this massive wildfire engulfing Los Angeles right now.
It's staggering.
Yeah, imagine a city, LA, just cloaked in this orange haze. The skyline gone, hidden by smoke from a fire that's burned, over 240,000 acres now?
That's right. And to give you a sense of the speed, our sources mentioned it was consuming something like 5,000 acres an hour initially.
5,000 acres an hour? That's almost unheard of.
It's an incredibly aggressive rate. So for this deep dive, our mission is really to unpack this. Look at the immediate human crisis, the fight happening right now on the ground, and what this really signifies in the bigger picture.
Okay, let's start with that immediate impact. The human side. Thousands fleeing their homes, right? Evacuation orders across multiple zones.
Exactly. And the Red Cross is running shelters around the clock. We're talking over 20 emergency shelters trying to cope with everyone displaced.
That's a huge number of people needing help. What else are the sources telling us about the disruption? It can't just be the evacuations?
No, definitely not. Something that often gets less focus, but is critical, is the health impact. These thick smoke plumes, they're traveling hundreds of miles, creating really poor air quality. Schools, businesses are shutting down. Hospitals are putting out warnings, especially for people with respiratory issues. Stay inside.
A kind of silent crisis within the main one?
Precisely. And then there's the financial hit. Millions already allocated for disaster relief, but hundreds of homes are gone. Buildings, critical infrastructure, damaged or destroyed. The cost is just immense.
And battling something on that scale, the response on the ground must be monumental. That's where you see the real struggle.
Absolutely. Local fire crews are stretched incredibly thin. They're working nonstop, battling these fire fronts, pushed by winds, gusting up to 40 miles per hour.
40 miles per hour? How do you even fight a fire in those conditions?
It's incredibly difficult because those winds, the Santa Anas, they don't just push the flames. They cause spotting.
Spotting.
Yeah, embers get carried sometimes miles ahead of the main fire. They start new fires, basically jumping over the containment lines firefighters are trying to build. It's like chasing ghosts.
Wow. So air support must be critical then.
Oh, vital. Helicopters, tanker planes dropping thousands of gallons of water, but also fire retardant. That's key.
How does the retardant actually help differently than water?
Well, it often contains ammonium polyphosphate. It doesn't just cool the fire. It chemically changes the vegetation, makes it less flammable. Sources show specific retardant lines were crucial, for instance, in helping save parts of Griffith Park.
I see. But even with all that, some areas are still in immediate danger.
Yes. Frontline communities like Pasadena, Malibu, they're still under grave threat. Firefighters are making these last-ditch efforts to protect homes. It's incredibly intense.
And this combination of factors, the heat, the dryness, these winds, it feels like more than just bad luck for this one fire.
It absolutely is. This wildfire is a stark, undeniable example of how climate change is, supercharging these events in California.
So it's not just hotter summers.
It's hotter, yes, but it's also the frequency and the length of severe droughts. That's directly linked to climate change. It leaves the vegetation incredibly dry, basically perfect fuel.
Kindling, waiting for a spark.
Exactly. And what used to be a fire season is now becoming almost a year-round threat. It's changing the whole landscape, the nature of these fires.
So with thousands still out of their homes, crews still fighting, the focus starts to shift, right, towards what comes next. Recovery.
And recovery is so much more than just putting out the flames and rebuilding houses.
Right.
It's the long, painstaking work of restoring the burned ecosystems. It's providing mental health support for people who've lost everything. And it's making really tough calls about where and even if it's safe to rebuild in these very vulnerable areas.
Okay, so we've looked at the devastating scale here in LA, the incredible efforts of the responders, and this clear, alarming link to broader climate patterns. It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? With these kinds of disasters becoming more frequent, more intense, what does that mean for how a city like Los Angeles, or any city really, needs to adapt? How do we build resilience for this future? Something to really ponder as unfolding right now. This massive wildfire in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's dominating the headline.
Absolutely. We've gathered sources on Los Angeles ablaze, wildfire's fury, and aftermath. Our goal here is simple. Unpack it all for you.
Set through the noise, get to the core facts.
Exactly. The scale, the impact, the causes. We want to give you those essential insights, without feeling overwhelmed. So let's jump in.
Okay.
First off, the sheer scale is, It's hard to grasp. Sources are saying over 240,000 acres burned.
That number is just huge.
It really is. To put that into perspective for you, that's bigger than many major U.S. cities. We're talking scorched neighborhoods, suburbs, precious parkland, homes.
And it's crucial to remember this isn't just empty land. It's communities. It's people's homes, their lives. It's also critical infrastructure, power, comms lines.
All being consumed.
By these incredibly ferocious flames, it's a massive level of physical destruction.
And that leads right into the human toll, which the sources paint as just heartbreaking. Thousands of residents forced to flee. Evacuation orders across multiple zones, people grabbing what they can.
It's chaotic. And you see the Red Cross working around the clock, right?
Yeah.
Over 20 emergency shelters packed.
Yeah, shows the immediacy of the crisis and the response.
Well, local fire crews are stretched incredibly thin. They're battling through the night, and the conditions are just brutal.
The winds especially.
Exactly. Sources mention gusts hitting 40 miles per hour. That's like fanning the flames, making it spread so much faster.
So they're using air support.
Oh, yeah. Helicopters, those big tanker planes, dropping thousands of gallons of water. It's really a last-stand effort in places like Pasadena, Malibu, Griffith Park, trying to save homes on the very edge.
An all-out effort, like you said. But the effects, they spread much wider, don't they?
Absolutely. We're seeing thick smoke plumes darkening skies hundreds of miles away. It looked like twilight during the day sometimes.
And the air quality. Terrible. Schools, businesses shut down. Hospitals are putting out warnings, especially for vulnerable people, telling them just stay inside.
Yeah, the air quality is a major secondary impact. And despite all the heroic work, containment is still a massive challenge.
Why is that? The winds again?
Primarily, yes. The winds keep shifting, making it so hard to establish those control lines around the fire's edge. And the confirmed damage is already staggering.
What are we talking?
Hundreds of homes gone, many more buildings damaged. That critical infrastructure we mentioned, compromised. Millions in disaster relief funds are already allocated, which just tells you the sheer economic scale of this too.
Okay, so we see the immediate crisis, the scale, the response. But let's zoom out. What's driving this intensity? What are the sources pointing to as the bigger picture?
The sources are pretty clear on this wildfire. It's a stark reminder of how climate change is fundamentally altering the fire landscape in California.
Making fires more frequent, more severe.
Both. It's creating this kind of perfect storm. We're seeing hotter summers, which means drier vegetation, basically more fuel. Then you add stronger Santa Ana winds.
Those hot, dry winds blowing in from the desert.
Exactly. They turn the whole landscape into a tinderbox, ready to ignite. It's not just a bad fire season. It's a systemic shift linked to the changing climate. California's natural fire cycle is becoming far more destructive.
So looking ahead now, thousands are still displaced, crews are still fighting. What comes next? What's the focus shifting towards?
Well, the immediate focus is still containment, getting those lines established, then ensuring it's safe for residents to return. And after that, the immense task of rebuilding.
Rebuilding not just structures, but lives.
Precisely. It's a long-term recovery, the mental toll, the economic hardship for these shattered communities. It's a long road.
So this deep dive really highlights the devastating scale, the incredible response efforts, and that clear, undeniable link to our changing climate.
Yeah, and what's really striking, I think, is seeing how fast these environmental factors, the heat, the drought, the wind, can combine with where and how we live, with our human vulnerability. It creates these incredibly powerful events.
A sobering thought.
It really is. And it leaves you, the listener, with a pretty important question to mull over. Facing these escalating natural disasters, these powerful forces, how do we adapt? How do we build resilience in our communities and as individuals?